This is our mule mower. I'm going to go for a walk around. If you guys have never seen one before, never heard of Gianni Ferrari, they're in Italy. If you don't know, nothing related to a Ferrari, don't get me wrong. I do tell people I own a Ferrari. I just leave out that it's a lawnmower and not the car. There's a few things about it that just it's a step up completely from the zero turn, the Bobcat that I've been doing. The Bobcat's great, nothing wrong with it. It's just in a different category of mowers. What I'm going to do is go for a walk around and show you a few different things. Rollover bar, I'm not going to put it up. The diff lock, the blade system, a couple of other things on it. I'm not too sure of everything. We've only done 40 hours on it, so it's all new. Everything's still brand new, but it's picked up so much time, especially mowing wet grass. This is an awesome mower for mowing wet grass. It just plows straight through it. It's 28 horsepower. I could do with some more horsepower. I'm thinking 33 horsepower, 35 horsepower. But in saying that, the next model above this one is 33, 35 horsepower. They got 45 horsepower. They've got a 50 horsepower, a bigger deck, a bigger hopper. This is like the baby brother to the big ones. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing baby about it. It's a more compact version. It's actually pretty much the same size as my Bobcat with the boss back and the rocks up on that one. So everything's about the same size. So going from the boss back to this, it's completely changed. I've only had it, like I said, 40 hours. It's completely changed how well and how quickly we get lawns done. There's no using part of the deck to get a small bit done. There's no going at a snail's pace. Then when you come up to the truck, you lift it up, you dump it straight back into the truck, and you're off and going. I think 10 seconds, lifts up, dumps in, comes back down, all does it in 10 seconds. Something like that. I haven't actually timed it, but it's not slow. This is the new PG280DW, well new to us anyway, for 40 hours we have on it. What I'm going to do, a few people have been asking me questions about it, and is it a zero turn, is it not, how does it work, what happens, how does it steer. So I'm going to go for a quick rundown, walk around, whatever you want to call it, about what it is. We'll start with, is it a Gianni Ferrari made in Italy. It's an out front deck, no it's not a zero turn. It's an out front deck mower with 28 horsepower Guardo diesel. What we'll do is we'll go for a walk around, have a look and go through some of the features and talk about it. As you can see, it's PG280DW. What it stands for is 28 horsepower, D stands for diesel, and the W stands for four-wheel drive. I don't know how they get the W for four-wheel drive, but that's what it stands for. It's a 130 centimetre deck. The deck is 51 inches. The hopper itself is 800 litres, which raises up and dumps in the back of a truck. If you have a look around here, you can see the four-wheel drive system. It's actually four-wheel drive with diff lock. We'll get to the diff lock in a minute. Diff lock's just down there. Now I'm doing this in the shed because there's a lot of noise going on outside. But So bear with me a moment. Okay, you've got your accelerator and your reverse. When you take off the foot of the accelerator or reverse, it automatically applies the brakes. Yeah, the handbrake, very much like a car handbrake. Comes on and off the same. Makes more sense if you're sitting on it. Tie down point on each side. I've added the D-shackle just to make things much easier coming on and off the trailer for me. Right, we'll have a look at the controls. So you've got your deck lift, your hopper lift and your throttle, which has a boost mode and eco mode. We don't need eco. There's no reason to be eco-friendly. We just need to get the jobs done. Yep. Your dash, if you can read it, it might beep at us because we're a bit low on fuel. Speaking of the fuel gauge comes on, but it only comes on when you're low on fuel. It doesn't actually come on all the time, which it should come on all the time. That'll make things much easier. You can push the little button. I don't know if you can see, hang on. Push the little button and it tells you, nope, push the button. It tells you service intervals, how long you've got to go. It's got a clock on it, tells you the temperature, still can't see. Tells you the temperature, the hours, and then it tells you the parking brake. Also it tells you when the hopper's full. It also tells you a whole heap of other information. It's a little handy unit on there. It's got lights. They're really bright. Might not be able to tell during the daytime, but they're really bright over night time. Someone was asking about their steering wheel. It's controlled by the knob. It's rear steer. So very much like a forklift or any of the out front decks. 30 litre, don't know how many gallons is that, 30 litre diesel. Pretty sure I'm getting about 8 hours. I've never ran it empty. I'm pretty sure I'm getting give or take 8 hours per 30 litres, which is a lot more fuel saving than the Bobcat. That's a 35 horsepower Kawasaki engine. There's a couple of cool features I like about this. I'll go through them right now. The deck is hydraulic lift. The hopper, my favourite part's hydraulic lift. And I'll start up. I've got it all shut down so I won't run it for very long. The height adjuster, I'll go through that now while I'm sitting up here. The height adjuster, it's one of the downsides to the mower, is you've got to hop off. As you can see, that only takes a couple of seconds to do. The problem being with it there is when you're on the mower, you've got to shut down your revs, turn off your PTO, hop off the mower and do it. It's a downside, but it's not a killer. It's definitely not a deal breaker. PTO, it's not an electric PTO. You pull it up and you do it down nice and slowly. You'll see that in the video. The hopper, like I said before, 800 litres. The blower, when you get to the blower, we'll go up again. Yes, you've got to be sitting on it to lift it up, otherwise it won't tell you. It won't go anywhere, sorry, tell you you're not sitting on it. grab this little pin, plug down, put that on. That stops it from falling down and taking the head off. So, you lift this up. Lower's pretty filthy, as you can see I haven't cleaned it at all. See it down there, I'm running out of hands, so it's heat. And it spins flat out, sucks it up from underneath the deck, obviously. Got the belt system over there, engine, that's the engine cover. You're meant to use 2 people to take this off because it's very light. Let's see if I can do it. What I mean by very light, I mean because of the angle, you are at risk of hurting the engine cover. The Dolitson air filter, or whatever that's called. Where'd that torch go? Nice little Kubota diesel, like I said, 28 horsepower. Radiator, everything on this, oh, that needs a clean. Everything on this can be pulled out and cleaned. Everything is all easy access. There's another one down under here somewhere, the other side I think it is. Right, so far, I'm really impressed with what it can do. They reckon the bigger models with the 40 horsepower and 50 horsepower, they're a lot better. But by far, I'm really impressed. There's not too many things that I don't like about it. We'll get to them in a minute. What I'm going to do is we'll have a look at the blade system. This blade system has a double blade system, so it's got 8 blades underneath, one above each other. I'll show you what I mean. Now, I haven't looked under here, so hopefully it's clean. And what we got? Let's have a look. Where are they? There's the 2 blade systems. What this does is double chops the grass, so when it goes into the hopper, up through the hole in there, if you can see it, maybe not. There it is. When you go up into the hopper, it's all chopped finely, which then the blower blows it in and compacts it, cuts it up fine and compacts it really well. There's not too much I can say. I've only had it for 40 hours. One of the downsides I've found with it once or twice, it's happened now, is a stick can get stuck in the, let's drop that deck, in that blower hole that I showed you. And when that does, it acts like when that gets stuck in there, it's like putting a cartoon. You see in the cartoons the crocodile's mouth, they jam a stick inside the crocodile's mouth and can't shut. Well, it has the same effect. You have a stick that's jammed in the side, eventually going through thicker grass, the grass builds up and ends up blocking that. You've got to climb up underneath and unpull it out. Down to it, when having short arms, not tall person, you have short arms, it's a struggle to reach right up under to grab out the stick, which I wanted a bigger deck. They didn't make a bigger deck for this model. The next model's up, the turbos. They have a bigger deck, but this is the biggest deck that I've got that I could get on this one. So I'm almost lucky that I didn't get the bigger deck, otherwise I couldn't fit my hands under there. And it just sits on those two lugs there. And you can get a whole heap of different attachments for it. You get a flail mower, there's a flail, it's called a 3x1 deck. A flail mower, an aerator and a mulching deck all in one, and you can flail cut and collect, or you can turn it into mulching, and also put aerating blades. I'm interested to have a look at that one. Not too sure what else to say about it. The diff lock, we're going to talk about the diff lock. The diff lock's great. Yeah, let me sit on it. Drop this down. The diff lock's great. Diff lock pedals right here, which you can get to okay, but when you're going down a hill, you've got to brace yourself with your throttle on your right. You've got to brace yourself going downhill. So when you're going down a steep hill and you need to turn, you've got to put the diff lock on. So going downhill, you reach up, put the diff lock on, and as you're bouncing around, it's hard to keep it down. We've got a new model eventually coming. It looks like the diff lock is on your pedal up here, so hopefully they can fix that issue with it being hard to reach. Like I keep saying, I'm really impressed with the mower. It's cut through some thick stuff that my other mower can cut through, but when it's collecting it wasn't the most efficient. This one, as you'll see, it seems to just work exactly how it should. One downside, major downside, it's not a game changer, it's not a deal breaker. One downside is the seat. The seat, it's their comfy seat, but this model PG is the only one that doesn't come up with the Gianni Ferrari's extra good seat. This seat here, how it pushes out, you end up sitting up on a lean. So you end up leaning forwards instead of sitting up back nice and comfortable. I'm used to being sitting in a lounge chair and riding nice and comfortable. That's the only major downside. Everything else seems to work as it should and actually work better than what they say it does. What I hear is when they're demoing these to the councils, they demo them but they wait for a rainy day because nothing else catches like this does in wet conditions. Other mowers can try, but they just can't keep up with this in wet conditions. Can't remember what else. There was a few things I was meant to mention. Like I said, 4-wheel drive, 800 litre hopper. You can open it at any level, you don't have to tip it at the top, you can open it at any level. It's got a foldable rollover bar, ROPS. I won't pull it out, but it goes up and that folds up, out there. I haven't used it yet. I don't really want to put it in a situation that I need it, but if I do need it, it's there. The deck can lift up a little bit higher. You unplug the pins here and you fold it up and it lifts up a little bit higher. I'm not too sure what else to ask about, to say about it. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. I hadn't seen one before. I bought this without demoing it. I just seen what the other models can do and gambled on this one. Like I said, I'm really happy with it. It's sped up my times on the job incredibly. I'm no longer needing to go snail's pace to catch and collect, and when you're lifting it up and putting it in the truck, it saves so much time. It's a PG280DW. There's the diff lock pedal. Like I said, you've got the lights. It's all shaft driven. Your shaft up the back. The gearbox there. Really sturdy gearbox. Talking to guys with the bigger ones, and they've said they've bent blades and they've never hurt the gearbox at all. Hope that's covered everything. Usually I forget what I'm talking about, but any questions, feel free to ask. Got to emphasise that I'm really happy with it at the moment. No issues, no downsides. Some people say it's a bit heavy. I think it's 900 kilos. There's a plaque, it'll tell me. But any mower in this category weighs the same. Some are actually more, all the same without the catcher. I don't know if you can read that. With the elevator, 950 kilos. And being from Italy, everything is in metric. So you've got 130 centimetre deck, 51 inches. Your seat, just your weight. It's a comfy seat, don't get me wrong. It's the only problem is that bit that sits out the top. Armrests, seatbelt because you've got the rollover bar. The steering wheel moves backwards and forwards. Just trying to go over everything, seeing if I've forgotten anything. We've got the rear steer, 4-wheel drive with diff lock, 800 litre hopper. Hydraulic lift, that's really handy because you can get over obstacles. You can go over driveways without shutting down the blades. One thing that I really like about it, this one here, hang on, let me grab that torch. This here is one of my favourite things. If we, give me a second. There we go. These flaps here, see that? They won't come back this way. But when going through long thicker grass, they go down there, all the way up, all the way, right along the deck, right along the other side. Grass goes in there and gets hit with the blades, it's not pushing it down. Grass still gets pushed down by these ones, but nothing compared to the other mowers with the deck. I can't remember all the implements, but I know there's a fair few. I'll put a picture up of the different implements. Fertilizer spreader, it said aerator, flail deck, mulching deck, I think there's re-discharge deck, this is collecting that. I only bought this to collect the grass. Like I said, any questions, feel free to ask. It's Gianni Ferrari PG280DW from T-Quick.